Happy Saturday, everyone. What's going on? We are not here for a Winged Eagle podcast. We are here to review WWE King and Queen of the Ring 2024. It is in the books. Show went off the air just a couple of hours ago, but since I live on the West Coast, I had to wake up at 10 o'clock in the morning to start watching this thing, so I got kind of a late start, so I wanted to backtrack, catch up on what I missed. But from what I could tell, and from what I've seen on social media from most of you and a lot of the fan response, today's King of the Ring and Queen of the Ring was a great show. Very small, 5-match card. They added one to the pre-show last night on SmackDown with the women's tag team champions. But in terms of the matches we got on the main card, I thought all of them delivered. I thought they were all great. And I thought this was a really, really solid show. I went perfect in my predictions, not surprisingly. So got every match here right, although I don't want to pat myself on the back too much. A lot of this stuff I felt was somewhat predictable for a lot of different reasons. Although there was a couple of matches I wasn't totally sure about. Turned out I was right about all of them, including not only the King of the Ring, but the Queen of the Ring as well. 2 new crown holders now in Gunther and Nia Jax. I enjoyed technically the finishes of both matches, even though Gunther and Randy Orton kind of had a botch. or kind of a wonky finish there that Triple H addressed in a digital exclusive, I think, that is up on WWE's social media right now. And also, Nia Jax and Lyra Valkyria. Oh my God, the way Nia came down on that Annihilator, that was a brutal finish to that match. I thought Cody and Logan Paul was terrific. I'd like to know what you guys thought of Logan Paul's performance tonight compared to the matches he's had with Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. And who else has he worked with recently that's been pretty solid? I think this is one of his best. Him and Cody had a really, really fun match tonight. And I really like the fact that Liv Morgan picked up the women's championship. Now, I have been arguing all along that she should have just won that battle royal all those weeks ago, but I think really the point of putting the belt back on Becky Lynch for that temporary time period there was to give them a large name to replace Rhea on those overseas shows. That's my guess. Now that that is over, they had Liv pick up the title here because I believe she should be champion when Rhea Ripley comes back. And now that they're tying in Dominic to all of that, I think that's all going to fit nicely into Liv Morgan's Revenge Tour storyline. So overall, I thought all the matches were good. I like these short 5-match cards. I like that we have two companies doing different things. I'm glad that both companies aren't giving us 5-match cards. I'm glad that both companies aren't giving us 12-match cards. We get about 5 to 6 from WWE and about 8 to 10 from AEW. I like that their pay-per-views kind of have different feels and different identities to them. There's no right or wrong way to do pay-per-views. There's a lot of fans that really prefer the way WWE does things tonight, and there's other fans that just want to consume as much wrestling as they can, and they don't mind the 4-hour, 12-match AEW cards. I'm one of those people. I don't care, but I also can appreciate smaller cards. Triple H used to love these back in the NXT TakeOver days, and the matches feel more important, like there's more stakes. And even though some of these were predictable, or I guess all of them to me were pretty predictable, those are almost like my favorite types of shows. The ones where you have a lot of matches, super predictable, but you don't care. You don't care because you know it's going to be good. The stories they're going to tell, the winners and the losers and the outcomes are going to be something that's going to satisfy most fans. And I love shows like that. And this was going to be kind of one of those shows to where even if you had a match wrong in here somewhere, or if I would have predicted something incorrectly, I could have lived with almost any one of these match finishes changed, except for maybe Nia Jax and Lyra. Would not have wanted to see Lyra win the Queen of the Ring, but any other outcome they would have done, and maybe Sammy losing the IC too. Not tonight. I feel like that's coming later, and I think this Monday on Raw, we're going to see the final implosion of the Alpha Academy. There is no reason to continue to drag this on another month, another 2 months with Gable abusing his faction, ultimately dumping them after what we saw tonight with Otis hitting Gable with the clothesline. I think they need to end that issue on Raw. And I really like the idea of replacing Alpha Academy with the Creed brothers and having, kind of a team angle thing going on for Chad Gable as he pursues winning the Intercontinental Championship, which I expect him to by the time this story is paid off or concludes. But overall, I'm going to give this show a solid grade. I can't go any lower than 8. I'm going to go 8.5 out of 10 for me. I know that's very high. That's a B plus or an A there for this show, but I think it was a B plus or an A show. It really was. All matches delivered. These Saudi Arabia crowds in Jeddah are always, super energetic and enthusiastic, as are a lot of the overseas crowds. Anytime WWE goes to the UK or France or Saudi Arabia or anywhere, usually the crowds are jacked. And we're going to see that again in Scotland in just a couple of weeks at Clash at the Castle. And we did get some info on the Clash later on in the show as well, which we will talk about. So, welcome to your WWE King and Queen of the Ring 2024 review. I am Good Mic Work. I will be here with you today to run through the results of this show. It was kind of nice not to have to prep a huge podcast for today. I got to be honest, because Saturdays are a really busy day for me. And we were up here on Thursday doing the predictions video for both shows. Like I said, I went perfect here. Tomorrow is another story. Tomorrow, my predictions, I think my biggest prediction tomorrow that is kind of my bold prediction is Shibata winning the FTW title. Nobody will shut the fuck up about Shibata being involved in this. No, he's just there to take the pin. And the more and more those assumptions are repeated, the more and more I'm hoping Tony Khan is reading social media and say, hey, let's swerve everyone. So I picked Shibata to win the FTW title. If he does, it's going to be a short FTW run. They'll probably just have him drop it, another week or two on Dynamite. But I think for the purposes of the pay-per-view and throwing the fans a curveball, I'd put the belt on Shibata. So I think tomorrow that's going to be my big problem match there if I want to attempt to have a perfect prediction score tomorrow. That one might be tough, but everything else I feel pretty confident about for Double or Nothing tomorrow as well. So I love these dual pay-per-view weekends. They're a lot of fun. By the way, tomorrow night we will be here live on YouTube watching Double or Nothing together. Watch party. Couldn't do a watch party today for King of the Ring. Way too early in the morning for that. But tomorrow night, I'm off. We'll kick back. We'll toast some cold ones, and we'll watch a solid evening of wrestling from our friends over in Elite Land. But tonight, we're in WWE Land. WWE tonight was in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, as they were last night for SmackDown. So I'm kind of liking this. I'm liking when we're doing these overseas pay-per-views that they're running SmackDown in the same area. That way you don't have to do a crazy SmackDown taping. Now, this was taped for us, early in the morning yesterday. So it was still technically a spoiled show, but at least it wasn't a show that they taped like a whole week in advance. And it did look like it was a pretty good one. Nia Jax beat Bianca Belair to advance to the finals, and Randy Orton defeated Tama Tonga to advance to the finals of the King of the Ring, which in my predictions on Thursday, neither one of those matches had taken place yet, and I predicted those correctly as well. I predicted Orton and Nia Jax to go to the finals, and I kind of had Nia Jax penciled in once I realized it wasn't going to be Jade Cargill. I'm like, well, it's not going to be Bianca either, I guess, so Nia is your girl. But with Gunther, the minute, you guys, during our Raw review, go pull it up. Whatever Raw that was that Gunther declared for the King of the Ring, I said in my Raw review that night, I said, congratulations, Gunther, on winning the King of the Ring, because he's going to win it. There's no way he's not going to win it. Look at the run he just had. All those months and months and months of undefeated, that long Intercontinental title run that just comes to an end a month or so ago at WrestleMania. He's not going to turn around and lose again. WWE isn't going to put another loss on him. So if they don't intend on him winning the King of the Ring tournament, then they're not going to put him in the King of the Ring tournament, so he doesn't have to take a loss. So Gunther is such a strong character that him simply declaring for the King of the Ring spoiled the entire tournament for me. Because I'm like, it does not matter who he faces. Randy Orton, whoever the fuck it is, does not matter. He's winning. He is winning. He wouldn't be in it if he wasn't winning. See what they're doing with Braun Breaker right now on Raw? Gunther would be doing that. Because they don't want to put Braun Breaker in the tournament because they don't want him to take a loss right now. So what are they doing with him instead? He's mowing down everybody on Raw, mad that he didn't get put in the tournament. That's the storyline excuse that they're using and giving him something to do so he doesn't have to be in the tournament and take a loss. Because if he was in the tournament and Gunther is the proposed winner or the planned winner, then that means Braun Breaker's got to lose in there somewhere. So I feel like Gunther would probably be in a similar situation. Like, for example, if WWE decided that they wanted Braun Breaker to win this King of the Ring, then you would have Gunther on Raw doing what Braun Breaker is doing right now, beating up everybody. What the fuck, Adam Pearce? I had a two-year run with the IC title. You can't put me in the King of the Ring? This is bullshit. I'm just going to beat the hell out of everybody until you give me what I deserve. That type of thing. I feel like you'd see Gunther doing the same thing that Breaker is doing right now on Monday Night Raw. So it was predictable, but in a lot of ways good, because this is a nice accolade for Gunther to have. And now with Triple H in charge of creative, they're making the King of the Rings mean something again, because we did hear prior to the weekend, while they were in Saudi Arabia during a press event or something, but Triple H did reveal that the King and Queen of the Ring winners are going to get title shots at SummerSlam against their brand's respective champions. So that was kind of interesting too. I'm like, okay, good. The King of the Ring kind of means something again. Now, in the 90s, they never had this rule, but you had Owen Hart, you had Mabel, and you had Brock Lesnar, who all got title shots at SummerSlam. So not everybody did. Brett didn't. Even though he won the King of the Ring, he didn't get a shot at SummerSlam. Neither did Stone Cold Steve Austin, which is crazy. Neither did Triple H. Neither did Billy Gunn. They all had matches at SummerSlam and lost. A lot of those King of the Ring winners, let's see. Triple H lost in 97. Billy Gunn lost in 99. Austin was in a pre-show in 96. He won, but still, it's the pre-show, so you can technically call that a loss. And then I don't know what they did with Edge or Angle in 2000. Angle lost. Well, I guess Angle got a shot at SummerSlam after he won the King of the Ring. But anyway, there's never been like a rule for that. So now if they're going to make that a rule, that's fine. But I do worry sometimes that you do paint yourself into a corner with that. But luckily, you know, it's just against their brand's champion. So we'll see if that is something that sticks every year. But at least for now, it made the King of the Ring meaningful and memorable. And despite the fact that the King of the Ring was riddled with a lot of injuries and plagued by a lot of injuries on the men's and the women's side, I still thought the tournament was great, and a lot of those matchups were really good. I kind of miss the old days of having the one-night tournaments, but I understand why you have to spread these things out, and I feel like they got a lot done in a short amount of time. There was only a 3-week turnaround here to get these tournament matches done before this pay-per-view after Backlash, so they were able to put together a really fun and entertaining tournament with both winners being two that I can really understand and accept. And I'm happy with both winners. I really am. And by them, remember yesterday, for those of you who joined us in the predictions, when I was predicting all the matches, one thing I was concerned about is that it was a little bit heel heavy. I had Liv Morgan and Nia Jax and Gunther all winning, meaning Cody and Sammy would be the only baby faces retaining their titles. They chucked Jade and Bianca on the card so they could retain their titles too. So nice even 3 babyface, 3 heel victory here for this pay-per-view. All in all, really good. Really, really good. Not a fan of the Saudi Arabia relationship, and that's a relationship that's not going away. It's going to continue and probably grow and evolve to even greater heights than it currently is. I think at some point Saudi Arabia will get a Big 4 pay-per-view. Feels like that's going to be in the cards for the next time around. And it's nothing against the fans there because they turn out, they have a good time, especially the younger ones. Just anytime I can just see kids having a good time, I'm pretty happy. So the fans are innocent in all of this. So the fact that, they can enjoy WWE and have a good time, it's made for some good shows over there in the last couple of years. And this one was no exception. So anyway, I have been flapping my gums, haven't said hi to anybody in the chat. Let me just do a quick couple of hellos, and then I will start reviewing this show. And we're going to start with that tag team match that they threw on the kickoff show. Good to see Zane G up in here. So is Tatanani. Nate Dogg's here. Jacob A. Isaac, Max Pokebra, Chaz, Garrett, Mr. J, and Mike Witt, some of the early channel members chiming in along with Zane and Tatanani, excuse me. Mike Witt was hoping for Lyra. Man, not me. She is a good little wrestler. Like her, just fine, but man, she is generic as all hell. And I think Nia made a much better Queen of the Ring, which is crazy for me to say because there was a time I couldn't stand Nia, but since she came back, Triple H has used her brilliantly, absolutely brilliantly. William Cullen, good to see you, man. Patty J, good to see you as well. Jason Howdy is up in here. We have Tony as well. Good to see Danny in Oak Park. Daniel Berry Sports, Andy Linnell. We got more channel members like Zach and Denny Downbad up in here. Superman Bass Fisher is here as well with All Hail King Gunther. Right on. Who else? See, we got David Brown, 10 out of 10. We got 7 out of 10 from Nate. All right, so we got some mixed reviews there. I still think overall it's going to be more positive reviews than negative for this one. Danny Downbad, although it's screwed up that the women have to wrestle all covered up, I do like how creative they can get with their attire choices, especially now. The first couple of Saudi shows, it was lazy, because of the stupid, wardrobe laws and shit over there for the women, that they were just kind of coming out there in like the t-shirt and like long sleeves. Now they're starting to get creative. Rhea Ripley had that great one last time, that all black thing. She kind of looked like Edward Scissorhands or whatever. And, I don't know what was going on with Becky's tonight. She kind of looked like that black and white cookie from Seinfeld. And Liv all in red was really cool. So Maxine also, she looked like a conquistador. Loved it. So I'm actually enjoying the fact that we do get a different twist on the women's gear every time they go to Saudi Arabia. And even though I think, the women having to cover their bodies is fucking idiotic, it has made some cool different variations, I should say, on the women's ring gear, and I like that. It kind of is something to look forward to every time they go there. Oh, what are the women going to be wearing? And Jade and Bianca too look great in their pink numbers, so I liked it a lot. Diet Water, yes, the pay-per-view happened already, man. Happened this morning. It was in Saudi Arabia, so if you're living over here, I don't know where you live, but if you're here in the States, yeah, that thing, we had to wake up a little bit early, especially if you're me on the West Coast. But yeah, we're about to start reviewing it now. let's start with that kickoff match. They set this up last night on SmackDown, and this made sense for them to be on the show because I was curious, once Jade lost to Nia Jax, I was thinking maybe Jade would win the Queen of the Ring first, but her and Bianca are tag team champions. So when Jade lost, then I started thinking, I'm like, well, it wouldn't make sense for Bianca to win the Queen of the Ring now. It's an accolade she doesn't really need at this point. She's a made woman. I think she's going to be main eventing WrestleMania next year, at least on the women's side, for a championship match. And I just don't think a Queen of the Ring accolade would be something you necessarily need to give to her. So once Jade lost, I figured that it's probably not time to start any issue with them yet, because I was thinking if one of them won the Queen's crown, then maybe that could be jealousy on the other side and drive a little bit of a wedge. But I wasn't feeling it once they did the finish with Jade and Nia a couple weeks ago. So I had a feeling that Nia Jax would advance. Once she did, Bianca Belair had to fly all the way over there to Saudi Arabia to do that match anyway. Jade went with her. They're both there. Might as well stick them on the show. And we got Jade and Bianca taking on Candice and Indy Hartwell. I think it was last night on SmackDown. I didn't see the segment, but I think Bianca was like in the trainer's room and Candice and Indy came and talked smack to her. And that's when Jade came in and was like, oh yeah, we're going to go fuck you up tomorrow or whatever. So they set this match up last night on SmackDown, and no surprise, Jade and Bianca got the win here. Candice and Indy aren't even the number one contenders. We crowned them on Raw last week, so these two leapfrogged them and got a match here against Jade and Bianca, but who cares? They weren't going to win anyway. Jade and Bianca kicked their asses on the pre-show. Then on the main card, show opened up with Becky Lynch defending her Women's World Championship against Liv Morgan. Couple of things to note here. I mentioned Becky's attire earlier. She was dressed very bizarrely in that black and white little hat. Liv looked amazing in all red. And I thought the match was pretty good. I mean, the whole time I was watching for what Liv was going to do, what trick Liv was going to have up her sleeve. And Dominic was on our radar. We mentioned him in the predictions on Thursday. And I've been mentioning right off the bat, ever since Dom and Liv came face-to-face backstage for the first time, like right after WrestleMania or whenever, right when Rhea got hurt or whatever it is, I said, oh, Liv needs to seduce the young feller. She really does. She needs to. That's what women do. They're fucking vicious when it comes to revenge. And this whole revenge tour that Liv is on is all about taking everything that she can from Rhea Ripley. She's taken her career when she injured her. She's taken her championship belt now. And when Rhea comes back, Liv is going to have taken her man as well. So Dominic, I guess, approaches Liv backstage before the match and says, I'm going to see to it that you're never going to get mommy's title. And so then during the match, Dominic, of course, shows up with that gorgeous Eddie Guerrero hair of his and has a chair. And he slides the chair in the ring for Becky to use, but Becky doesn't want to use it. And then he jumps up on the apron to distract the official. Liv Morgan then picks up the chair she picks up Becky and hits a DDT on the chair, throws the chair out of the ring. Referee now turns around and Liv hits her Oblivion for the win. So she had help from a steel chair and help from Dominic, because I think it's pretty obvious that the story here is that Dominic is pretending to help Becky Lynch, but really in reality, I think he's in cahoots with Liv Morgan, and he's just trying to make it seem like he's against her, and really he's helping her out. And I even think it's not even Liv and Dominic being in cahoots. I think it's Liv Morgan being in cahoots with herself, because I think Liv is using Dominic. She is going to seduce this kid for the sole purpose of taking him away from Rhea Ripley. She doesn't want Dominic for herself. She just wants to take it from Rhea. It's all about taking things from Rhea Ripley. So Liv Morgan is going to convince Dominic to join up with her, and then she's probably going to dump him and drop him like third period French as soon as she gets an opportunity and probably break his heart. Or we could have Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley at SummerSlam in a ladder match. Come on, you know where I'm going with this. For custody of Dominic. Why don't we do that? Why don't we do it? Why don't we do it? We have to do it. We have to do it. So Liv Morgan is now the new women's world champion. I'm very happy about that because it wouldn't have made sense to me for Becky Lynch to be carrying the championship when Rhea Ripley comes back, because Rhea Ripley beat her at WrestleMania. Rhea Ripley's story is with Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan is on a revenge tour. She tells us every damn time she's on camera. We know what her intentions are. So for them not to pay that off, for Liv to say, I'm going to take everything from you, Rhea, and then she doesn't take anything from Rhea, and then Rhea comes back and starts feuding with Becky, It has to be Liv Morgan. Has to be. So we knew she was probably going to get the belt, and the way they set it up here with Dominic coming in, I thought was perfect, because now, Dominic can pretend to be mad or whatever on Monday Night Raw, but I think the end result here is going to be Liv Morgan and Dominic hooking up, and Dominic maybe turning on Mommy after Liv gets her hooks into him, and then she's just using him to, get her revenge on Rhea Ripley. So that might be how that whole situation between Dominic and Rhea Ripley nearly 2 years after it started, finally coming to a close. That's a pretty long partnership there between those two. And Becky Lynch, too, there's been a lot of talk about her contract. Again, I'm not worried about her leaving WWE. Doesn't seem like something that would really be in the cards for Becky or something that she would want to do. But then again, I'm not Becky. I'm just trying to look at the facts here. Becky is a new mom with a little kid. She's married to somebody, a big star in the WWE. And granted, maybe a lighter schedule could be a little bit more attractive, or whatnot. They already make a ton of money. It just does not seem logical at all for Becky Lynch to leave. I think the only reason her contract hasn't been signed is just because they're still working out details. I don't think there's any real true fear on either side of them parting ways. Becky knows she's staying. WWE knows they'll get her name on the dotted line. There's just still contract shit to work out. That's it. I don't think, unless I've missed something, is the NBA and NBC Universal deal a done deal yet? I don't think it's a done deal, but most people are expecting it to be a done deal. But still, there's shit you have to write out in the contract. It's probably the same for talent. And sometimes, like we saw with Drew McIntyre, it was just a matter of dotting your I's and crossing your T's. That's it. I'm sure it's the same thing with Becky. And I don't even think her contract status has much to do with the championship at all. Granted, you do not want to have your championship on anybody whose contract is coming up, but I think Becky could be trusted there. And on top of that, Liv Morgan, even if Becky re-signed her deal, let's say 2 months ago, she re-signed a 5-year deal. Even if Becky was in the middle of a huge, long, big money contract, I still think she drops the title here to Liv, because it's what makes sense for the story. So I think it's just kind of a coincidence that Becky happens to be going through this contract stuff at the same time, but I really don't think they are related. I think WWE took the belt off of Becky tonight more so because it fits into the Liv and Rhea storyline than because of her contract. That's just my take on it. So congratulations to Liv Morgan. She is the new women's world champion, and I like that. That's going to be fun shit when Rhea Ripley comes back, and I hope the story gets deeper, and I hope Dominic is woven into this thing, and him and Liv hit the sheets. That would be some fun stuff there. Let me knock out a couple super chats before we get into this next match, because I think I see our boy Tomas Aridia back in here with $5. Thanks, dude. Good to see you. Bring back Vince so he can book King Gunther with the robe and scepter. Joking, obviously. I love that you had to put joking, obviously. Yeah, you're definitely joking there. The robe and the scepter, that's so stupid. I mean, they had the crown, and they did it a little bit differently. They didn't have a whole thing set up and a throne and all that shit. So it was just Triple H out there with the crown. They just present him with a crown. And the crown, I don't mind. I mean, Nia Jax did put it on, but I don't even think you should put the crown on. I think the crown should just operate as a trophy. It should just be a trophy, put it on your mantle. That's my king's crown. It's not meant to be worn everywhere you go. It's just a trophy, just like you would get a gold trophy that stands up with a little guy posing with a baseball bat, or a bowling trophy or something like that. It's the same thing. It's just a crown instead. So I kind of like that they're just presenting this crown. I'm sure Nia Jax is going to be out there with hers. I'm sure Gunther will kind of carry his around maybe for the first couple of weeks, but please don't wear these things for a year or for any length of time at all, because I don't want to have to worry about 2 crowns running around the company for every single day because, if they carry the crown until next year, then we're going to have new King of the Rings, and you don't really defend the crown. really. The crowns have never really been defended. So I think the crowns need to kind of go away after a certain amount of time on TV with them reminding the fans, hey, look, I won the crown. We get it. Then I would do that and move on. Then after Liv and Becky Lynch, we had Sami Zayn defending his Intercontinental title against Chad Gable and Bronson Reed. This one was super easy to predict. There is no way Sami Zayn is losing the Intercontinental title this close after winning it at WrestleMania in a triple threat in Saudi Arabia, no less, especially since Sami has just started to make appearances there. The crowd loves him. He always cuts a promo in Arabic for the audience there, and he came out all in his white deal tonight. He looked great. And you knew that because of what's been going on with Gable on television and him running down his faction, at some point that's going to implode and cost him a match. And that happened here. So you had Otis backing up Gable at ringside. Gable, I guess he gets Sami on the outside of the ring, and he's holding Sami for Otis to come in and deliver a clothesline on Sami. Otis is a little bit hesitant, and that hesitation allows Sami enough time to move out of the way, and Otis just blasts Gable down to the mat, allowing Sami to head back in the ring and deliver a haluva kick to Bronson Reed to get the win and retain the championship. And Gable was furious at Otis after the match. So like I said earlier, I would not drag this on anymore. On Monday night, this Monday, everybody's going to be tired of shit from the flight home, I'm sure. But this Monday, I would end this faction right there. I would have some sort of in-ring segment where Gable is super pissed at Otis, and I would like to see him having him in there like he does. He has Tozawa and Maxine and Otis, and he lines them up, and he starts, reading them the riot act, and then maybe he gives Otis another slap, but Otis gets pissed, and starts going on a rampage or something, and that's kind of the beginning of Otis's new push. I mean, this guy, he might be on tap for something else big. He really kind of fell off there after the pandemic and the Mandy Rose stuff happened, and he was gaining some momentum there. So maybe this is a way to establish him on his own now as a baby face, and he just goes nuts and he just beats the hell out of Gable and annihilates him. Or you could have Gable running down everybody, and then the Creed brothers show up and attack Otis and Tozawa and beat the crap out of them. Ivy Nile, though, wasn't she kind of with the Creed brothers? And she's been talking to Maxine, right? Do I have Ivy Nile and the Creed's alliance correct? Is that who she was kind of hanging out with, right, in NXT? And she's also been backstage kind of encouraging Maxine. And then Gable even approached him a couple of weeks ago. I don't want you training outside of the academy or whatever. And I'm like, you got two dudes and a girl over there. And you got two dudes and a girl in your own faction. What if we swap? And I'm wondering if maybe Ivy Nile, like let's say if they do a segment on Raw where Gable's running down the Alpha Academy, and he goes, and I've decided I'm going to dump you guys. And then the Creeds come in from behind. They attack Otis and Tozawa. They beat the hell out of him. And Maxine's just standing there like, what? What? Like with that surprise look she always seems to have on her face. She looks like she's at a never-ending surprise party. And I'm kidding. Maxine's gorgeous. And then you can have Ivy Nile run in the ring. Like if the Creeds, or like if Gable gets in Maxine's face and then Ivy Nile runs in and steps in between, to kind of protect Maxine. What are you doing? Yelling at the Creeds. What are you guys doing? And then she kind of gives them a smirk and she turns around and boom, and attacks Maxine. That's what I would do. That's what I would do. So I would make a new Alpha Academy with the Creeds, Ivy Nile, and Gable, and dump Tozawa and Otis and Maxine. How's my aim on that? Am I sniffing that out right? I'm just trying to remember Ivy Nile in NXT. I think she was doing shit with Creed. So that all would make sense and fit in terms of what they've been doing on TV lately. So I would like to see something like that happen, like as early as this Monday. I cannot handle another 6 weeks of Gable doing this shit with his current Alpha boys. It was Alpha Academy. It's time to get rid of that. Yes. So thank you, T85. So she is with the Creeds. So that's exactly what I would do, because she's been kind of showing encouragement there to Maxine. And if the Creeds attacked and joined up with Gable, and then Ivy came in to try to protect Maxine and then reveal that she's on the team too and attack her and put her down, that would be great. That's exactly what I would do. So maybe we will see that segment on Monday. What if Maxine turns heel with Gable? No. Maxine's too lovable. She's too wholesome. Granted, her lack of ring work might make her a good heel, like an Eva Marie type of way. But I think Ivy makes the most sense because if Gable is trying to strengthen his faction, right? He's been giving Maxine a lot of shit. He doesn't want her doing the backwards worm stuff. She hasn't shown any evidence to a heel turn either at all. They've planted no seeds there. So I don't think Maxine going heel. I think the whole point of this is for Gable to shed his current, is to molt his current shell and give him a new one with stronger upgrades. Because you would argue that Ivy Nile is an upgrade from Maxine. Same with the Creeds over Otis and Tozawa. So the whole point is to make yourself and your group stronger. I don't think Maxine turning heel does that. An attitude change won't help her in the ring, Well, I guess it could. Mike Witt's got 5 for us. Appreciate that, dude. I think it's a little weird that arguably the most over guy on Raw, Jey Uso, is not even on the show, and no Uncle Howdy reveal tonight either. I wouldn't have done the Uncle Howdy reveal tonight. No way. Because if you were to do an Uncle Howdy reveal, that means Bo Dallas and possibly Eric Rowan and other people are going to have to be there, and they would probably be spotted, and then we hear about it. It's kind of hard to hide a guy like Eric Rowan in Saudi Arabia. He doesn't exactly blend. He doesn't exactly blend in. So whenever the Uncle Howdy reveal happens, and granted, it could have just been Uncle Howdy and no Rowan and none of the other guys. Could have just been Uncle Howdy. But I still think word would have gotten out that Bo Dallas was there. And if we hear that, we would have been like, why is Bo Dallas there? Why would he make this trip to Saudi Arabia? To hang out? No, he would be there to do something with Uncle Howdy. So I'm glad we didn't get the Uncle Howdy reveal, because I think we would have heard about it ahead of time. It's better, I think, just to do that here back home in the States at a pay-per-view or on TV. Or you could even do a Clash at the Castle. But Saudi Arabia, just a little bit different of an environment, and I think it would have been leaked that he was there. So I'm not sure about that one. Good to see you, Devin Rice. You love this show. You love my show, or you love King and Queen of the Ring? Either way, I got to agree with you. So I guess it doesn't matter. Zombie Fighter, good to see you, Jacob. Welcome back, man. Appreciate the $9.99. What if Punk screws Drew out of the title, and then in return, Drew screws Punk out of the Money in the Bank briefcase? That could really set up for a big match at SummerSlam. So that's a whole nother set of circumstances here we're going to have to talk about when it comes to Priest and Drew and Punk and all of that. And I might save that just for a minute, Jacob, because we're going to talk about it when we get to the Orton and Gunther stuff. But let's talk about the women's Queen of the Ring match first before we get to that. Nia Jax defeated Lyra Valkyria, which I still struggle to say. I love the finish here. This was so Nia's up on the second turnbuckle, and Lyra comes over like in a sunset flip powerbomb, and she's trying to powerbomb Nia Jax off the second rope, and she can't quite get her down. And then Nia Jax just jumps and sits down and just squashes. She basically hits her with her finisher, the bonsai drop, the now and later, as I call it, and basically hits it on her. But while Lyra is kind of half sitting up, trying to hit her in a powerbomb, and it was just brutal. She came down more on like Lyra's lower half or midsection, but I don't know how you didn't squash a liver or something in there. I mean, that was just rough, and I loved it. I popped for it. I'm like, holy shit. So Lyra goes down. Nia Jax beats her, wins the Queen of the Ring. I think she's the perfect choice to win the Queen of the Ring because she's been doing great work since she's came back. She was involved a little bit kind of in the title mix on Raw there, getting a victory over Becky Lynch, but ultimately not being able to win the title from Rhea Ripley. And she's had to take a couple of losses over there. So this is another, kind of boost for her, something that gives her an accolade and gives her a championship match at SummerSlam, which I think she has a strong likelihood of winning. It's probably going to be Nia Jax and Bayley for the title. And I think where we sit right now, Nia Jax has an excellent chance to win that title. And if she did, I'd have no problem with it. I mean, you rewind 1 year ago, when Nia Jax's name was kind of on the radar a little bit. We've heard them talk about her. I don't know how long she's been back now. It does not feel like it's been a year. And we've been hearing, though, that she could come back. Every time her name was brought up, every time you guys would mention her in the chat, I was like, no, absolutely, 1,000,000,000% no. I don't want anything to do with her. She sucks. She does nothing for me on TV, in the ring, her promos, her matches, nothing. Everything has just been not interesting to me. I do not care at all about Nia Jax. At all. And then she comes back anyway. And I'm like, no, she's back. Great. But I forgot that Triple H is in charge now, not Vince McMahon. And Triple H is like, all right, idiots, let me show you how to use this woman. Here's how you do it. And he did it. And she's been used brilliantly. It was almost immediate. It was like instantaneous. I swear within the first week or two of her return, I was already singing her praises. I'm like, I don't know what's going on here, but something about Nia Jax feels different. I like her presentation. I like what she's doing. Her heel work is heel work that you appreciate, not that annoys you. You know what I mean? You know, some heels are just so fucking, like the way Nia was before. You know, the way Nia was before, whenever she was a heel, you just want to be like, shut up every time she talks. Just shut the fuck up. Shut up. You're awful. But now it's like, she's good at this. You know, there was a great performer there the whole time that Vince's shitty creative just kind of blocked out. But with Triple H, she has just been tremendous. And her matches have been good. Her matches have been good. Her mic work has been good. Her character work has been good. Everything about Nia Jax has been positive since she's come back. And it's one of the most pleasant surprises that I can remember in quite some time, because when Nia Jax came back, I thought I had to just deal with it. I'm like, oh man, it's going to be a chore to have to watch her. But it's not. She's actually there doing good work that I enjoy and that I like watching. I've never been happier to be wrong, because I don't want to watch people that bore me to death. You know, I don't want to watch people that put me to sleep. That's why I didn't want Nia Jax back, because I didn't want to fall asleep in the middle of Raw. But she's been doing great, and she's been doing anything but putting me to sleep. So I am a Nia Jax fan. Pretty sure I'm blocked by Nia Jax, but I don't care. I think she's doing great, and I think this is a fun victory for her. Awesome finish. Now puts her on a path to SummerSlam, and based on the matches this year that she's fallen short on or lost, combined with the great work she's doing, I think it's time to reward her for a championship, you know, or reward her with the championship. That's what I say. So, yeah, I think I think Nia I'm penciling her in to win the championship at SummerSlam. And we'll see what kind of fun program she could do with Bayley. This is assuming Bayley survives. We still have the Money in the Bank coming up, which I'm going to talk about in a minute because Jacob brought it up. But I feel like Nia and Bayley might be a fun program. You might not have to tinker with that too much. Just hopefully Bayley won't get cashed in on or anything between now and then, and you can do Nia Jax and Bayley. Up next, it was time for the Men's King of the Ring tournament final. Randy Orton versus Gunther. Randy Orton won the semifinal match last night on SmackDown, defeating Tama Tonga. And I predicted Orton to defeat Tama Tonga for the same reasons why I said it was all right that Ilya Dragunov lost. It's okay for Tama to take a loss to somebody like Randy Orton. Granted, they're trying to build up the bloodline 2.0. Still lots of story to be told there. So you want their momentum to continue. But at the same time, you know, Tama Tonga winning the King of the Ring wasn't feeling very likely to me, although Nia Jax winning the Queen of the Ring might have been cool if the two of them won and then Nia Jax joined the Bloodline. I still think Nia Jax joining the Bloodline is something we could still see happen. And maybe that's how she beats Bayley at SummerSlam. She gets help from Solo Sikoa comes in the ring and Samoan spikes Bayley and Nia Jax wins the title. So Tama losing here was fine. I wanted a Gunther and Orton final. I always knew Gunther was winning, but when you looked at the bracket on the other side, I'm like, Randy Orton's over there. That's got to be your match because we haven't seen that before. And it gives the Saudi Arabia audience a first-time match. So Randy Orton versus Gunther was up next. This was good, every bit as good as we thought it would be. This is a really fun, interesting match that we've never seen before between two badasses. Randy Orton was even, I think a little bit bigger and more powerful than Gunther in a lot of these exchanges. And I thought they delivered a really, really solid match. What they did not deliver, however, was a solid finish. A little bit of a wonky finish here, kind of Becky Lynch and Ronda Rousey at WrestleMania 35 vibes. Randy Orton actually hits the RKO on Gunther. Hits him with an RKO, but he's got an injured leg. Gunther's been working the leg all match. So after he hits the RKO, he kind of hesitates a little bit to crawl over for the pin, and as the referee is counting the pin, Gunther delivers a shot to Orton's knee, breaking up the pin, and then he rolls Orton over into a crucifix because he's kind of like in that position, and the referee counts 1, 2, and Randy Orton's shoulder, no shit, comes up 5 feet off the mat. The mat was here, Randy Orton's shoulder was on the ceiling. The whole damn world, you could be on the fucking moon and see his shoulder off the mat here, and the referee counts 3 anyway, and Gunther wins. And I remember thinking like, that sucks. That fucking sucks, because if that's not the plan, which I don't think that it was, even though Triple H addressed it later, and I think they're setting up a rematch between these two, it's possible that maybe they plan to have that shoulder up the whole time, but I feel like it was WWE. I'm going to try to give WWE credit here for calling an audible. I think that was an unfortunate finish that they couldn't not address. Because even after the match, they went to a replay, and then Corey Graves, I think, just couldn't ignore it. Well, wait a minute now. Now that I see that replay, I'm not so sure. So Gunther gets the win. Triple H is in there, presents him with the crown. He cuts a promo. Yells at the crowd because the crowd is chanting, "You deserve it." I think it's Byron Saxton in the ring doing the interview. The crowd is chanting, "You deserve it." And Gunther says the crowd has no business telling him what he can and can't deserve. Fuck you. You don't tell me what I deserve. I thought that was pretty funny. So Gunther is now the men's King of the Ring winner. So then later on, or after this match, we cut backstage to Triple H. And the first thing he has to say is he's got an announcement to make about Clash at the Castle. He congratulates Gunther and Nia Jax, and he said the announcement is that Drew McIntyre has been cleared by doctors to compete, which means now he can challenge Damian Priest. Damian Priest, a man of his word, said he would give Drew McIntyre the title shot, and that match is now official for the Clash. So he put that officially down, that announcement on the pay-per-view. Then after the show was over, on social media, Triple H was asked about the finish of Randy Orton and Gunther and asked about Randy Orton's shoulder being up. And Triple H said that basically it was an unfortunate thing that happened, and I think that it's a match that we need to see again. He feels Orton deserves, in his words, another shot at it, and Gunther deserves a chance to remove the asterisks. So you got Clash at the Castle coming up. This is going to have to be an interpromotional match, but if it's in a different country, maybe it doesn't count. It's kind of like if you're cheating in a different area code, it doesn't count or something. So maybe you could do Orton and Gunther again, and this should be pretty easy to explain on TV. This is Triple H making this executive decision. He's just going to inform Nick Aldis and Adam Pearce, hey guys, your boys are going to be facing each other at Clash at the Castle, is what I think we're going to get out of this. Because it did feel like it was unintended to do that botch. We might come to learn in the next day or two that they actually did plan to do that finish so they could carry this into one more pay-per-view. And I also have to wonder about Randy Orton, because I thought it was interesting when Triple H made the announcement prior to the weekend that the winner of the King and Queen of the Ring tournaments are going to get title shots against their brand's respective champions. And when I looked at the finals, and I'm like, Gunther I've got penciled in to win the King of the Ring. I've predicted him to win ever since he declared, so he's my winner there. But prior to this announcement from Triple H and prior to the entire King of the Ring tournament, a lot of us have had Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton on our SummerSlam radars. And so I had said when Triple H made that announcement, I was like, I think it's going to be like a Royal Rumble 2005 or a Royal Rumble 2007, or probably a lot of other Royal Rumbles while there's been two champions, is that both finalists might get title shots. In 2005, Batista won the Rumble. John Cena got a title shot anyway, and they both won titles. 2007, Undertaker won the Royal Rumble, and he was last in there with who? Shawn Michaels, right? Who got the main event at WrestleMania 23? Shawn Michaels. So I feel like it could be a situation like that where, yeah, Gunther is going to secure himself a championship match against the World Heavyweight Champion, but that does not mean Randy Orton then can't get a title shot against SmackDown's champion. So in my mind, even if Randy Orton lost, they can just do something on SmackDown and he can just win a number one contenders match or something. Like one of those things where they do a three-way, 2 3-ways, and then the winners of the 2 3-ways have a 4-way, and then the winner of that 4-way has a 9-way, and the winner of that 9-way goes to eat at Denny's, and then after that, whoever pays the bill gets the title shot, something like that. But you can just do something on SmackDown to where Randy Orton earns a championship match against Cody Rhodes. Now, I think it would be a lot more fun if Randy Orton and Cody was like a deep, heavily involved program where they really tied into their history and acknowledged their history. Maybe even Randy Orton being a heel would make this a lot better in my mind than a babyface versus babyface match. So even with Orton losing, I never thought that really ruled him out because Triple H just said the winner gets a title shot against their brand's champion. He didn't say the loser's fucked. He just said the winner gets a title shot. Doesn't mean the loser can't get his own damn title shot. And I think that's still a really likely possibility for SummerSlam. Now, also one thing Triple H mentioned, he said that Orton deserves another shot at this. So what are they going to do? Put the crown on the line? Is that what they're going to do? And then maybe it's 2 losses to Gunther. Because if they do this again, you have to wonder, I'm like, okay, well, if you're going to do it again and you don't want Gunther taking any losses, that means he's going to have to beat Randy again. So why would you want to beat Randy twice? Why do the match again? What's the motivation to do the match again if Gunther's just going to beat Orton again? Maybe to solidify the win. Maybe they want to make the win a little bit more definitive. So I guess that is possible. But part of me wonders if Randy Orton would get the win and then you'd book like a rubber match at Money in the Bank or something. Then the winner of that goes on to SummerSlam or something. But I don't know how they're going to do it. And another thing that Zombie Fighter mentioned earlier with the super chat when he brought up Punk screwing Drew McIntyre out of the title, I think that's a really big possibility as well for Clash at the Castle. But I think that they're going to have to establish that CM Punk is going to be there because CM Punk is still technically injured. I don't think he's going to have a match at Clash at the Castle. So if he's not going to have a match, just like I mentioned with the Uncle Howdy stuff, he's going to be seen there. So they're going to have to do something on TV where he's going to say, I'm going to be at Clash at the Castle. Or maybe McIntyre is so full of himself or so confident that he's going to win the title that he's going to invite Punk to sit in on commentary again. And maybe we do that again. Something like that. But if Punk is going to be at Clash at the Castle and he's going to have anything to do with the finish of Priest and McIntyre, I think that it needs to be established and announced that he's going to be at the show because it's going to be really hard to keep him hidden. It's going to be really hard to try to keep him a surprise. And then if we hear that he's there, like if WWE doesn't tell us that he's going to be at Clash at the Castle and then he is there and it gets leaked that he's there, what's the first assumption we're all going to come to? He's going to get involved in the championship match. So I think there's ways to do that, but just got to be careful with these overseas shows. And like I've been pitching for a long time, or for a couple of weeks now, not a long time, but a few weeks now, and I stand by this and I mean it. I think CM Punk needs to win the Money in the Bank. And I put that on Twitter today and I got the predictable response, formulaic response. No, the King of the Ring or the Money in the Bank needs to go to a young guy or a less established talent or something like that. Not always. Not always. Wrestling fans have these blanket opinions that they think they can just spread out into every scenario. Not every time Is this right? Sometimes it is, yes. Sometimes it's best for the Royal Rumble winner to be someone who's never won the world title before. Sometimes it's not. And so with King of the Ring, I'm not looking at it. I'm looking at it from a perspective of what would be fun, what would be the most fun. I'm not worried about who's going to get left out and cold or whatever. No, so-and-so deserves it. I don't give a fuck who deserves it. A lot of people deserve it. I care about what would make the most compelling and entertaining TV. That's what I care about. And with CM Punk winning the Money in the Bank, first of all, it would make the most logical sense for him to be in the world title picture because he's feuding with McIntyre. McIntyre might become world champion at Clash at the Castle. So if CM Punk is in the middle of a feud with the current world heavyweight champion, granted, it's wrestling, you can just do whatever you want, but still, how do you justify giving CM Punk, a man who has wrestled a grand total of 15 minutes in a WWE ring in the last 10 years and 4 months? It's been 10 years and 4 months, and CM Punk has put 15 minutes of work into an in-ring match in WWE. How do you justify, if Drew McIntyre wins the championship, doing Drew McIntyre and CM Punk at SummerSlam? It's either going to have to be a non-title grudge match, like Jacob is pointing out, with Punk screwing over McIntyre, and then it's just a match, kind of like Brock Lesnar and Punk had back in 2013. But if Drew is champion, you can't just give CM Punk a title match. Not when you're doing all these number one contender matches and winning King of the Ring, to get, well, I guess Punk can't get Punk can't get the title match because it's going to be Gunther now anyway. But you wouldn't be able to give him a title shot anyway, since he's not really wrestled or has any sort of a track record or strung up any wins at all in the company since 2 years into Obama's second term. Like, what the fuck? It's been forever. So I think that winning the Money in the Bank would be the only logical way to get the title on him. Like, if they want to put the belt on Punk, I'm sorry. The only way to do that is with the Money in the Bank. It is. He just he hasn't done anything, unless they stick him in one of those triple threat number one contenders and he wins it. But I think winning the Money in the Bank briefcase would be a lot more fun. Plus, he'd set all kinds of records there. He'd not only be the first 3-time winner, he'd also be the first guy to cash it in 3 times. A couple guys have cashed it in twice. He has, and so has Edge. And that one time was even weird. That one time Edge cashed in, he didn't even win the Money in the Bank ladder match. He won it in a one-on-one match. So you can cross that one off. Punk is the only guy to do it twice for real. And he could likely be the only guy to do it 3 times. And I'm not sure if anybody will ever break that record. And each time he did it would be super memorable, because even as a babyface, I think Punk is the type of babyface that would take full advantage of a beaten up champion and win the title. Punk gives 0 Fs, so I don't think that would bother him at all. And if Punk was the Money in the Bank briefcase holder, think about the nuisance he could be to Drew McIntyre. It could be Drew McIntyre, and again, Punk could show up at Clash of the Castle, screw Drew in front of his home crowd, and boy, that would really, you talk about really adding heat to this feud. Punk screwing Drew in Scotland, taking that away from him, might be a little too much. I think what Punk took away from Drew happened at WrestleMania. That was Punk's big moment. Now, I think the story should dictate Drew winning the title, and then, Punk having something to do with the SummerSlam match. So if Drew beats Damian Priest at Clash at the Castle, then I think maybe Damian Priest gets a rematch or something at Money in the Bank, and, Drew's going to have to pay that off. He's going to have one more match with Priest and beat him again. That way he can be champion. And that will leave Priest kind of, that kind of ends a short run for him, but sometimes that's reality. So assuming that's what they do, you got Drew McIntyre now winning after Clash at the Castle. He'll probably have one successful title defense rematch against Priest. Then you have Punk winning Money in the Bank, and then we already know the SummerSlam match we're going to have. It's going to be Gunther versus McIntyre. And that ain't a bad match, even though that's one we saw at WrestleMania in the Triple Threat, and these guys have had a couple wars before, and Gunther has put down and pinned Drew McIntyre before. It's Gunther and McIntyre. McIntyre is going to be facing his toughest test to date, because Gunther has had his number. And so he's already going to have to contend with about as formidable of a champion as you can contend with. And then you got Phil running around with that fucking briefcase, dangling it, just dangling it right in the face of Drew McIntyre, making his title run a living hell. And McIntyre can express that in promos. I won the title, and I'm here with the title trying to have dinner with my wife, and I constantly have to worry about CM Punk, showing up and cashing in. I can't sleep at night. I'm not getting any sleep. And Punk is just tormenting and torturing Drew McIntyre to no end, to where when we get to SummerSlam, Drew is a nervous wreck. He's just Punk is in his head. He cannot focus. He cannot concentrate. He's yelling at everybody who wants to talk to him. And everybody is expecting, Punk to come and screw him. And then Punk throws the ultimate swerve and cashes in on Cody instead. That's my ultimate pick, my ultimate dream, but that's not a realistic dream, because if Punk were to throw that swerve at us, then he's just abandoned his entire Drew McIntyre feud and storyline, and that would make no sense. The swerve would make no sense, but Cody and Punk have already they were the last two in the Rumble, right? And then Cody and Punk had that amazing promo on Raw as well, and they've had some confrontations that we know we want to see. That's a big money match whenever it happens, but swerving us and giving it to us like that would be kind of wild. But imagine Punk, I guess, waiting or biding his time or whatever, maybe even running out there with the briefcase during Gunther and Drew, and then realizing maybe it's not a good opportunity, and maybe Gunther just wins the title. And then Punk is like, well, I guess I don't need to get revenge on Drew. He lost his title. I served my purpose. I was able to get in his head so much with this briefcase that it caused him to lose the title. And the icing on the cake is I still have the briefcase, which means I can jump into Cody and Orton later on and cash in on Cody or cash in on both of them. That actually might be kind of fun. It would end, McIntyre, or it would end Punk and McIntyre's story without them really having to have a match, because Punk feels like he won. He won. I tormented Drew. Drew was a dick to me when I got injured. He made the merchandise and he made the mistake of doing that whole Photoshop. And then I just owned his ass for the next 5 months. And now I'm world champion over on SmackDown. I don't know, fantasy booking, just coming up with shit. I'm not saying it's right or wrong or WWE should do it, but if you could envision in the multiverse that taking place, it sounds pretty fun to me. So we will see how all that goes. Orton and Gunther definitely look like they're heading for another showdown, and I think if they give that one to us at Clash at the Castle, you could not ask for a better, I guess you couldn't ask for a better venue than that in terms of the fans being into that match. I think they're going to be into it like crazy. You also have to consider Bash at Berlin, which I think comes up in late summer after SummerSlam. So that could be a big deal. Gunther getting his championship shot at SummerSlam, something could go awry there, and he doesn't win, but then gets a rematch at Bash at Berlin and wins there. That could happen too. We got to save this video and come back to it in 3 months and see how accurate any of this shit turned out to be. But I think there's a lot of possibilities, especially on the Raw side right now, with Gunther getting the title shot and with the Money in the Bank coming up. And I think a Raw, it's probably going to be a Raw person winning one briefcase, a SmackDown person winning the other. So I feel like Punk winning the men's would be perfect, and I don't even know who would win the women's on the other side. Possibly Charlotte. That's probably what it's going to be, actually, now that I think about it, because I don't think Rhea Ripley needs to win the briefcase. When she comes back, just immediate title shot against Liv Morgan, just murder her and take her belt back. That's actually probably where I would do the Dom turn. I would wait on this, and then when Rhea comes back, obviously the first thing she's going to do is target Liv Morgan, and then you do the match, and then Dominic helps Liv Morgan retain. That's probably what you do. So lots of fun possibilities. In terms of Cody, though, Cody now beating Logan Paul. I don't know what Cody's going to do at Clash at the Castle. So far, he hasn't had a program with anybody after WrestleMania. One off with AJ, one off with Logan. What's he going to do next month? What's he going to do at Money in the Bank? So they're going to have to figure out who Cody is going to face at SummerSlam. I think Randy Orton is still the likely choice here, but maybe it's Bloodline. Maybe there's a trade. Somebody mentioned trading Gunther to SmackDown. I would not do that. Gunther, I think if Gunther was going to be on SmackDown, they would have just drafted him to SmackDown. I thought maybe Vinci could show up tonight, maybe cost Gunther. Vinci, don't forget, he got ousted from Imperium and I think got moved over to the SmackDown brand. So we haven't seen him resurface yet. And maybe he could try to get some revenge on Gunther in some way, in some upcoming match. Maybe at Clash at the Castle. Oh, there you go. If Orton and Gunther wrestle again, I would have Vinci show up, interfere in the match, hit Gunther with a chair or something, and then RKO and Randy Orton beats Gunther with help from Vinci. Something like that, I feel like, has got to happen. So lots of possibilities. Let me know what you think. And that leaves us now with the main event. Cody Rhodes defending his undisputed WWE title against Logan Paul. This one was a lot of fun. Logan Paul, prior to this match, had vowed not to use his brass knucks and fight Cody like a man. And I thought this match was going to be just a fun match to watch. It gave me exactly what I was envisioning in my head, maybe even slightly exceeded it, because when I thought about what I've known about Logan Paul so far, all the matches he's had, I'm like, there's no way this is not going to be good. Him and Cody are going to crush it. And they did. And I think it's Logan's, I don't know if it's his best match. I think of the ones with Roman, Cody, and Seth. What do you think between those three Logan Paul matches? Roman Reigns at Saudi a year or so ago, whenever that was, and then Seth Rollins at WrestleMania last year, and then this one. What's your favorite? What's your best? What do you think is the best one? This one was very, very good. So Cody and Logan working well together early. Cody winds up pulling a fan over the barricade who shoves him. He gets in Cody's face. This is just a plant and a ploy by Logan Paul, because prior to the match, I think the ref was checking him for knucks. No, I don't have any knucks. And some fan hits Cody. Cody then brings him over the barricade and starts working this fan over. And when he's doing that and the referee is distracted with Cody and this fan, another fan pulls out knuckles and gives them to Logan Paul. And Logan nails Cody with the knucks. Michael Cole freaks out about this. He starts yelling at Logan Paul, calling him a loser. Logan Paul comes over to get him some of Michael Cole, and without hesitation, Corey Graves just immediately steps up and stands in between and protects Michael Cole. I love this. This has been done a lot of times throughout the years. You know, the color guys have protected, even in a heel role, a lot of times they will protect the babyface. Lawler and Ross, did the same thing. And Cole was pretty loud and vocal all night, and him and Logan almost got into it, and seeing Corey restrain Logan Paul made me wonder a little bit. I mean, I don't know. Look, Corey, apparently he can get back in the ring again, but I don't know what they're ever going to use him for. But if they do, maybe a match with either Pat McAfee or a Logan Paul would be a lot of fun. So after the confrontation on the outside of the ring, Cody actually recovers from the knuckles and dives over the top rope right onto Logan Paul. Logan Paul then later on in the ring hits a crossroads on Cody, and there is a kick out there. And then on the back on the outside of the ring again, back near the announce table, Cody hits, you could see him going for it too. They're up on the announce table, Cody and Logan. Luckily, it's not the same announce table that AEW used on Dynamite this past Wednesday. It was able to support the weight of both men. And Cody hits a Cody cutter so he's on the table, and instead of using the ropes, he uses the barricade to come back with a Cody cutter and lands it pretty good on Logan Paul. I like that spot a lot. And then we knew at some point in the match we were going to get the big Logan bump, and we did. Cody is now down. He's on the table. Logan goes to the top rope, and I don't know, I guess they had a drone in the building, but they had a complete 360 kind of aerial shot. Cheers to Kevin Dunn being gone. Let's just have a moment of silence, please, and bask in the wonderfulness that is that. Yeah, no more Kevin Dunn. Oh, it's so nice to say that out loud. This was just a brilliant, I guess, just drone shot, 360 around Logan Paul, and then he dove off to that frog splash. Imagine if they would have had this shit when Shane was doing this stuff all those years ago. Just a tremendous camera shot of that extremely gnarly bump that Logan performs on a routine basis when he has matches, nails Cody with that big frog splash on the table, throws him back in the ring and hits a frog splash in the ring, and Cody still kicks out of that. Now we get a ref bump. I think both guys kind of accidentally and inadvertently nail the referee in the corner. He goes down. I put gets splashed by Logan. Does the referee get splashed by Logan? That's what I wrote down. Yeah, so he might have gotten hit by Logan as well. I know both guys ended up hitting him. But when the referee is down, Cody is able to hit a pretty sick-looking vertebreaker, but there's no ref to call the 3 count or to count the pin there. We then get a low blow to Cody. Logan Paul pulls back out the brass knucks, and that's when he's lining up to nail Cody, and the guest ring announcer, and I did not catch his name, he is a local celebrity comedian there with a huge following, I guess, there in Saudi Arabia. I've never heard of him, but he's very, very well known there. This is the Jon Stewart SummerSlam finish with Cena and Seth. It's like the same thing. So the comedian guy grabs Logan's foot, preventing him from hitting and using the brass knucks, and that was able to distract him long enough for Cody to recover, and then Logan goes for the knuckle shot again. Cody blocks the punch, and he goes, "I'm Cody Rhodes, bitch," and he hits Logan Paul with 2 crossroads, not 3, and pins him to retain the undisputed WWE title in a match that he dedicated to his wife, Brandy, who was at home recovering from surgery. So probably a little nerve-wracking for Cody to be on the other side of the blue ball when his wife is recovering at home. So he dedicated this whole match to her, and he picked up the win like most of us thought he would. Nobody was expecting Logan Paul to pick up the world title here, but it was still a great match. It keeps the U.S. title on Logan Paul. And I don't know where this chatter is coming from about Cody's run being like a failure or underwhelming. It's barely started, for one, and the 2 title defenses he's had on pay-per-view have been in front of international hot crowds and have been great matches. The match with AJ was fucking tremendous, and this one with Logan Paul was great. Cody Rhodes is doing just fine as world champion. If this narrative is being pushed, it's being made up. There's no real logical concrete evidence to support this at all. If anything, it's been the opposite. Cody has been a great champion so far. He can only work with who Triple H puts in front of him. So if Cody Rhodes' title run is a failure, it's fucking on WWE's creative. But I think so far, even though he might be treading water here until The Rock gets back and he gets involved back with that bloodline stuff, it might just be a few opponents for him, which is why I think a Randy Orton program could be very crucial. Last year, the Brock one, the matches he had with Brock was good, but we were all wondering, why the hell are they even feuding? And we were still kind of off balance about Vince showing back up, and screwing up that Raw after Mania and whatnot. So with Randy Orton, there's so much more they can do there. There's so much history between those 2 guys, teacher and student, and how they start. I mean, the first thing I think Cody Rhodes ever did in WWE was like getting involved in that Dusty Rhodes and Randy Orton thing, right? In like 2007. So we're going on 17 years here of these guys, having a connection in wrestling. And I think before Randy Orton retires, you should try to get a good program and story out of these guys. So I think what I would do is I would book the rematch at Clash at the Castle between Randy Orton and Gunther. And even though I don't want to see Gunther take any losses, if Gunther is about to win the title at SummerSlam, I wouldn't give a shit. That's going to be kind of like my conditions. If Gunther is the planned winner and they plan on belting up Gunther at SummerSlam, then he can totally lose to Randy Orton at Clash at the Castle. That's what I would do. I would have Randy Orton beat Gunther, and you can do another shady finish if you want, maybe even setting up a trio between the 2, 3 matches. But if Randy Orton beats Gunther, that might be enough to kind of earn him a shot at Cody at SummerSlam, maybe. And then you've got a lot of time there with Cody and Randy. It can start babyface and babyface and then take a turn heel. I mean, that's kind of what I would do. I would have Cody and Randy tell a great story all summer long. What does Cody do other than that? on the SmackDown roster right now. Look at the roster. There's great talent there. Plenty of people you can have a pay-per-view match with. But is that what they want Cody to do? Maybe it is. Maybe they don't want him in a long storyline right now until the bloodline stuff picks back up. Maybe the point is for him to have a different opponent to beat at every pay-per-view. We haven't seen that yet in a while. And I always say, you see very few one-offs. To have like string 3 or 4 of them up in a row, that also could be fun. But I think WWE is more about stories. So if you have your world champion who just got done telling his story, and now he has no story at all, that might be kind of weird. So one way to get to SummerSlam is to have Randy Orton beat Gunther. Then he gets the shot against Cody Rhodes at SummerSlam. And you start it off with the two of them, baby faces, respect, talking about old times. But since you have so much time between now and SummerSlam, it slowly devolves. Animosity gets brought up, bad feelings, and maybe within a month, you've got Randy Orton turning heel. And he goes into the match with Cody as a heel. I don't know, but if I feel like Cody would beat Randy Orton in this scenario, so then Randy Orton is a heel now. Okay, then what after he loses to Cody? Don't really know, but I think Cody and Randy could have a super fun story this summer if they so choose to do that. Otherwise, I don't know what Cody is going to do at SummerSlam unless Roman is coming back or Rock is coming back and they get back involved here for SummerSlam. If that happens, then Cody's probably going to work with one of them. But outside of that, I can't see anybody on the SmackDown roster that makes any kind of sense other than Randy Orton. So we will see how it goes. Let me know what you guys think in the chat over here. I want to thank you guys for being here today. I'm going to be wrapping things up here in a couple of minutes because I have to head off to work. And don't forget, we're going to be here tomorrow night, live reacting watch party to AEW Double or Nothing. Daniel Malcolm, appreciate the $2. And thank you for telling everybody to hit the motherfucking subscribe. Please do subscribe, like, all that stuff. We're in the WrestleMania lull. All the YouTubers' numbers are a little bit down. Ours are, we're no exception. So I think after all that excitement with The Rock and the Bloodline and everything around WrestleMania, we're just in that little downtime here. But I think things are going to start getting interesting again late in the month of June after Clash at the Castle. And we start building to Money in the Bank because I think that's where the fun is going to be. Fun times to be had coming up. All right, I think that does it for the Super Chats. Let me see what else you guys are having to say. Alex, Cody's first WrestleMania match was with Orton. Yeah, it might be. I'm not good at knowing that stuff, but I trust you on that one. The Juliet, thank you so much for being here, and I appreciate you gifting out yet another Good Micro Commentaries membership to Red Raven Rucker, hooking it up. We are well over now 100 members on the channel. Our next target would be 150. Need a few more to get to that. So if you want to join, you can do so by clicking the link below. 2010 was that year. Okay. Shell Shock, that's a good point. The people complaining about Cody's title run are salty Roman fans. That is very true. T85, good point. Punk, I don't think it's irresponsible to speculate about his health. He's been injured a lot in the last couple of years, and he got injured the minute he hopped back into a WWE ring. So if they want him in the title picture, can you trust him? That's another thing about Punk is that I think even though him winning the Money in the Bank would be a lot of fun, they might need to see him in the ring a little bit before they decide whether or not to successfully pull the trigger on it. I don't know. He's going to have to show and display to them that he can stay healthy and not have any issues for an extended period of time. But you're also not going to be able to have a whole lot of years on Punk either. So if you get him in the ring and the engines are going good and he's healthy and things are smooth and working well, I'd take advantage of that and do it while you can, because Punk has a proven track record now of unreliability injury-wise in the last couple of years. Not his fault. It's just what happens. Bodies get older. Bodies break down. You become more injury-prone. You know, sometimes it's not even your fault. Sometimes it's something a freak accident, like jumping off into the crowd and then hurting your ankle or whatever. So if he can keep his ligaments attached and not torn and everything is good, man, I think there's still time for Punk to do great things before he fully retires. And winning the Money in the Bank would be my ultimate dream. I don't even know if he'll be cleared by then to even do this scenario that I've been pitching lately. But I think when it comes to having the most fun, yeah, you can give the Money in the Bank to somebody young or somebody new or Braun Breaker. Well, sure, you can. But to me, it would be more fun if CM Punk won, because Punk would be great. He's a motherfucker, man. He's his strongest asset now is his ability to speak. He does it better than just about anybody on the roster, I feel like. He's got a great voice, great tone. He's very composed on the mic when he's trying to get his point across. It's a composure I wish I had on my own damn YouTube show. And Punk can do it in front of 20,000 people in an arena. He's just really remarkable in that regard. So I think that's his biggest asset right now and his biggest positive. And when you put a briefcase with that, combine a briefcase and a stick, ooh, that's magic. That's magic right there. So that's what I want. And I'm not going to deviate from this desire. I want it to happen for sure. You can't change my mind. But anyway, I want to thank you guys for being here this afternoon. I've got to head off to work now. Do me a favor, if you don't mind, smash that thumbs up button on your way out the door. And if you're watching this VOD later on, please do the same. I want to thank you guys for all of the great responses we've gotten so far on the Owen Hart video that we did for charity. We're going to be donating the ad revenue and all of the super thanks that we've gathered off that video to the Owen Hart Foundation. But I want to wait about another week. I want to wait 2 weeks before we do it. That way I can allow as many views to kind of get in there, get some ad revenue generated, and get enough people in there to donate. And then once I look at those totals 2 weeks from now, we're going to donate the entire thing to the Owen Hart Foundation under the Good Mic Work family name, because we love Owen. So thank you so much for the good feedback on that video so far. And yeah, other than that, just join us tomorrow for the watch party. There will be no Raw review on Monday. Monday's Memorial Day. I'm going to be heading over to my sister's house. We're going to do Memorial Day shit. So there will be no Raw review Monday night, but I think that's going to be all right. We'll be up here. I'll be up here midweek doing something. I'll probably be up here Thursday again, because I think I have the day free on Thursday. Just thinking out loud. Write this all down. You guys are writing it down, right? Thought so. Anyway, guys, thanks again for being here. Appreciate it. Have a great rest of your Saturday afternoon, and I will catch you tomorrow night for Double or Nothing. Link is on the channel right now, so save it, and I will catch you tomorrow. Peace.